We got a platinum WoW video to check out. Now I have plenty of night elves in my stream. Yeah, I got a lot of night elf mains out there. The embarrassing fall of the night elves. This one goes out to you. Yesterday we watched a fantastic video on how great humans are. Because you know how I feel about humans. Humans are the best race in the game. In and out of the game, that's right. But night elves, well, the first thing I ever made in WoW was a night elf hunter. Yeah, night elf hunter, because I wanted to be Legolas from Lord of the Rings. That's right, 15-year-old Sam making his night elf hunter. I think his name was Sandman. What a creative name. What a creative name. Anyways, let's check out the embarrassing fall of the night elves from Platinum WoW. These videos are always great. Here we go.
During the recent events in Warcraft lore, the night elves just can't stop losing. But what if I told you they've been on this downtrend for thousands of years and have fallen tremendously from the powerful empire they once were? Our story begins 15,000 years ago on Azeroth, where a tribe of dark trolls discovered the Well of Eternity.
Yes.
The well was formed from an ancient titanic event on
the origin
Azeroth
story.
And left a limitless font of arcane power that surged with energy. This energy transformed the life around it, including the dark trolls. They evolved to have similar characteristics to the Titans and would adopt a new name, Kaldorei, meaning children of the stars. They learned to worship the moon goddess of life, Elune. Now the details of who Elune actually is still shrouded in mystery, which is pretty rare now in the Warcraft universe.
Yeah,
we do know a lot about Elune's sister goddess, but really, that's it. And speaking of Elune, her son, Cenarius, taught the night
Honestly, the whole thing about Elune being mysterious, I don't want everything explained. I think that was one issue with Shadowlands that I didn't like. I didn't like the whole first one's lore. I don't think we need every single thing explained. I mean, shit, in real life, not everything's even explained. Right? The origin of the universe, Big Bang, whatever. We're still trying to figure that shit out. But then for some reason in WoW, everything is getting unshrouded and explained to us. I don't need it. I kind of like a little bit of mystery. What is Elune? I don't know. What is Azeroth? Still not sure. I don't know if I need an explanation for every single demigod or whatever, or god in World of Warcraft.
Was the affinity for druidic magic. The demigod
Mystery
would be
and
instrumental in
speculations are
the
flavors of
upbringing of the
RPG.
Kaldorei,
Yeah, exactly.
And through his teachings, druidism and the protection of nature would be a core part of their society.
A lot of times the speculation and all the fan theory is better than what it actually turns out to be, too.
The other side of Kaldorei's society developed an affinity for the arcane. They used the powers of the well to build wondrous temples and expand their ever-growing empire. At the helm of this expansion was their exemplary ruler, Queen Azshara.
Ah, yes. Yes.
It's Brittany, bitch.
The Queen of Hentai herself.
Queen Azshara was born with glowing golden eyes, a sign of her future greatness, which was more than true.
A bit more jiggly than
She was
usual
beautiful, strategic, strong-willed, and ruthless. Now in Night Elf society, there was a clear separation between the arcane magic noble users called Highborn and your typical Kaldorei. But that didn't stop everyone in the Empire unanimously praising their new queen. They loved her so much, they renamed the capital city to Zinashari, meaning glory to Azshara.
There you go.
The only real enemy that threatened the Kaldorei Empire?
Imagine simping that hard. Imagine simping so hard that you change the name of your city. Damn.
Was the trolls, and they were easily crushed because when you have a
They're not the Kaldorei, they're the Simpdorei.
Of unlimited power and soldiers that live for 10,000 years, it makes fighting pretty easy.
Right.
Azshara kind of just let the trolls live in the mountains of Zuldazar and told them to never expand into Kaldorei lands, and practically the entire continent was now under Kaldorei rule.
Look at that.
But Azshara wanted more. The Queen of the Kaldorei made a pact with who she would later discover was Sargeras, the leader of the Burning Legion.
Yeah.
Azshara wanted nothing more than to wipe out all of the lesser races on Azeroth, making every inch of the planet under Kaldorei rule.
She wanted
every inch. And the Will of
inch.
Eternity was used as a portal to summon a horde of demons, kicking off the War of the Ancients. And okay, I've talked about this war probably like 13 times on this channel because it's probably the most important event to ever happen on Azeroth, and is also the point where the power of the Night Elves starts to fall off of a cliff. Okay, so the war ends with all of the demons being banished from Azeroth, but also the Well of Eternity explodes,
Boom.
and the entire planet is fractured, and like 90% of the Kaldorei Empire is destroyed. After the destruction of the planet, at the brink of death, Azshara and her loyal subjects got turned into fish people by the old god N'Zoth. So they technically aren't Night Elves anymore, but they live in Night Elf ruins underwater. More on them later. When the dust settled, the remaining Kaldorei attempted to pick up the pieces of their now fractured empire. Illidan Stormrage, being the dumbass that he is, had vials of water from the Well of Eternity and used it to make a new well.
There you go.
What the hell? What are you trying to do? Blow up the world again?
Yeah. Take the thing that blew up the world and make a second one. That's a great idea. Actually, humans have done that too, right?
Again, he was
we
in
make
prison
bombs
for
that can
10,000
destroy
years
the
after
world.
that. And the dragon aspects helped build a new world tree over the well, which accomplished a multitude of things. The world tree of Nordrassil would regulate the power of the new well and mask its power from evildoers trying to seek it out. It would also use the energy.
I didn't realize that's what world trees do. No way. They're like a filter for the well? Regulate the wow. Holy shit. Wait a minute. So we just destroyed a world tree in expansion. Shit. What does that mean? No more shrouding? No more. Oh my god.
Trying to seek it out. It would also use the energies of the well to heal the world. And most importantly, it would make the Kaldorei immortal, so they would not die of old age or disease. This was a new age for the Kaldorei, and the leader that rose to power was High Priestess Tyrande Whisperwind and Malfurion Stormrage. Well, it was Malfurion when he wasn't sleeping, hanging out in the spirit realm of the Emerald Dream with other druids doing druid stuff. I don't know, it's kind of vague.
The Emerald Wet Dream?
It was mainly Tyrande who had to deal with the aftermath of the sundering. After this event, Night Elf society pivoted to be heavily focused on a druidic lifestyle, and the use of arcane magic was forbidden, punishable by death.
Oh shit. I didn't realize they hated it that much.
This was controversial, to say the least, and the remaining Highborn...
This ends up going to basically the split of the the High Elves,
who had an affinity for the arcane, thought the banning of magic was for cowards. Dathramar Sunstrider, their leader, explained that the Highborn had been using arcane magic for thousands of years before Azshara even ever became the ruler, and it was impossible to deny the great power of the arcane. They were going to continue using it no matter what. It was their birthright, and they weren't going to let any low-born, tree-hugging hippies tell them that they can't use it. The Highborn were then exiled/willingly left Kaldorei society to start their own empire in the Eastern Kingdoms, and would later become the High Elves, and then the Blood Elves we know today.
Yes.
The next big event in Kaldorei history was the War of the Satyr. Satyrs were once Night Elves, twisted by demonic corruption, and they combined their efforts in a unified force to attack the Night Elves. In order to combat these demons, some druids tapped into an ancient druid form.
The Worgen form?
Forbidden to use because of how dangerous it was. These druids were called the Druid of the Pack.
Some people have said, there's always been speculation that druids would get this form at one point or another. I mean, I think it'd be pretty easy for them to do this in game because the skeleton, this is the old one, he used the old model, but they could use the Worgen model that exists right now for the Worgen and just, tweak it up a little bit, put some moons and stuff on the fur. And there you go. You got a new, you could even, man, I don't know if it'd be a 5th spec though. That'd be ridiculous. 5 specs for druids.
And in their wolf form, they were unstoppable killing machines, but in their frenzy...
But they could just use it as a skin, right? You could just make it a skin for, I don't know, for one of for the DPS
They
spec.
cannot discern friend from foe.
New feral look, yeah, exactly. It could be a feral
druids,
skin.
They banished them to the Emerald Dream.
Sam with good ideas this morning.
10,000 years later, they would reemerge and become the Worgen we know today. And let me just say, it's hilarious. The Night Elves are like, arcane magic? Yeah, no, that stuff is dangerous, and it's corruptive, not good. let's ban it all and then use druid magic instead. And then right after,
within.
they tap into corruptive druid magic and they start murdering each other.
Oh god.
Yep. Night Elves are very logical. The next war is the War of the Shifting Sands. The old god Cthulhu and his insectoid creatures, called the Karaji, stirred awaken Silithus, and the Night Elf forces traveled down to snuff them out. And then they got the ever-loving crap beaten out of them, and they were forced to retreat. And in fact, they needed help from the dragons to bail them out, and imprison the old god threat once again. Perhaps the war would have gone better if they didn't, hemorrhage themselves and they actually used arcane magic, maybe? I don't know, just an idea. Between the War of the Shifting Sands and the events of Warcraft 3, there really is no substantial history about the Night Elves. They have just been living in seclusion in the northern reaches of Kalandor.
Just sleeping and having orgies in the tree.
I've ragged on them a lot in this video, but the depiction of Night Elves around the time of Warcraft 3 is by far some of my favorite world building done in the Warcraft universe. They're incredibly cool. To outsiders, the Kaldorei have become this elusive, powerful force deep in the enchanted woods of northern Kalandor.
That's cool.
7-foot-tall Amazonian sentinels stalk trespassers in their lands.
Yeah, that's such a what a badass line he just dropped. That's badass. That's cool lore right there. Imagine you're a human like myself, and you just hear the legends of these 7-foot-tall, forest-dwelling, arrow-shooting elves. That sounds so badass.
In the dark brush of the forest, their glowing eyes hunt their prey, shimmering with bright white light, reminiscent of the goddess they worship. Their tactics are flawless, having honed their skills for tens of thousands of years. When Gromhillscream tried and failed to claim Ashenvale, he is quoted saying, "These women fight with unmatched savagery. I've never seen their equal. They are perfect warriors." And that is Gromhillscream, the war guy. Hulking druids the size of refrigerators can feel your very presence. Trespassing into the forests, they have formed a deep spiritual bond with.
This is badass.
They transform into savage beasts that can rip through a
Imagine being an orc and never seeing a druid before, and then all of a sudden you're fighting someone who transforms into a fucking bear. Imagine. How do you fight that?
Soldiers in a single swipe. The Kaldorei are not nice. They're intolerant.
I'm gonna save that image for later. Damn.
Savage, spiteful warriors of nature that hold dominion over the forests of Kalandor. And it's
the Night Elves
badass.
It is badass. The Night Elves have fallen off. This is some badass lore.
Third War, the Night Elves fought against demons, Scourge, Horde, and Alliance. Pretty much everyone that wasn't a Night Elf, and they suffered, kind of heavy losses, partly because of their stubborn nature. Their demigod Cenarius was slain by Fel Orcs, and the Kaldorei would not team up to defeat the demonic threat until the very last battle for Mount Hyjal, where Malfurion sounded a horn to rip Archimonde apart with 1,000 wisps and blow up the world tree
That's where they lost their immortality,
ending the Kaldorei's immortality in the process. Between the time of Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft, the Kaldorei grew a new world tree of Teldrassil, and built their new capital of Darnassus.
So there's no world trees right now. There's got to be repercussions for that. We need Tyrande to stop, take that anal bead seed out of herself and plant it in the ground already. Sounds like we need a new world tree, because that shit seems important.
Night Elves turn from these stoic, elusive, savage protectors of nature, and now they're
refugees. Oh. Is he on Moonguard?
Okay. Night Elves in WoW aren't necessarily bad, but they have definitely lost the edge that made them a
There's
step
Mount Hyjal. Is it still there?
Instead of being these aggressive tree huggers,
the tree in Hyjal,
now they've kind of just turned into tree huggers.
Right.
This is partially because gameplay triumphs over lore constantly in Warcraft's story, and the Night Elves join the Alliance. Yeah, the faction that is on the other side of the planet and now they take orders from a king who has lived a small fraction of their lives and has an even smaller fraction of combat experience. Throughout Classic WoW, the Night...
come on, Varian's more badass than that. He's got a small fraction of combat experience, but the man was a gladiator. Come on. He was the original gladiator. And what I wanted to say was, nothing.
Elves are dealing with the corruption of Teldrassil, yeah, it's corrupted, and the Horde's logging expedition to Ashenvale. And for the next 2 expansions, Night Elves exist, but they're still...
Oh, yeah, I wanted to say the Night Elves have kind of returned to their, they're still part of the Alliance. That's what I wanted to say. They're still part of the Alliance, but right now they really are, they're like their own faction within the Alliance. They're kind of like, you guys do your own thing. We lost our world tree. We got to deal with our shit. We're going to do what's best for us. We're not going to really listen to the humans anymore. That's what Tyrande, that's kind of the path. So they're kind of back to their old ways.
Story and their place in the world really doesn't change. During the Cataclysm, the world has been broken by a cataclysm, and the Night Elves suffer considerable damage because of this. During these troubling times, we actually get a shake-up in Kaldorei society. Morden Evershade, leader of the few remaining Highborn left on Azeroth, apologized for all the blowing up the world stuff, and the very few remaining Highborn were reintegrated into society. But the amount of Highborn that actually exist is very, very small, and really is just an excuse for Night Elf mages to now be a playable race and class combo. Also, during the Cataclysm, the Worgen broke free from the Emerald Dream and ransacked the town of Gilneas. Since the Night Elves are mainly responsible for Worgens even existing in the first place, they help out where they could, and they invite them into the Alliance.
This was made for Moonguard. Let's be honest, guys. This set right here was made for Moonguard. There's no other excuse for this set being in the game. Also, the length of this right now. I mean, come on. This is a Moonguard armor set.
Meanwhile, tensions between the Horde and the Alliance were ramping up.
You want that for
Horde offensives pushed into Darkshore and Ashenvale, but were repelled by the Elves. Although it wasn't a decisive victory. In the zone of Stonetalon Mountains, a giant goblin-engineered bomb was dropped on Teldrassil Grove, killing soldiers.
If they make that the Night Elf Heritage Armor set, I don't know how the Night Elves are going to feel about it. I'm sure there'll be some people that are happy, but that is just too much.
Innocents alike. Finally, over on Mount Hyjal, the World Tree of Nordrassil has grown back, but the Night Elves still aren't immortal. And they play a huge role in defeating Ragnaros, so set up a base nearby. Okay, well, all things considered, it's going pretty well for the Kaldorei right now, but this is just the calm before the storm. Miss Pandaria,
Moonguard would be thrilled, yes.
Draenor, nothing happens. Legion, a lot happens.
Oh, yeah.
First off, Tyrande and Malfurion travel to a zone called Val Shara. This is an ancient location where Malfurion was first born and trained to be the first ever druid to exist on Azeroth, under the tutelage of Cenarius. More recently, the satyr named Xavius has been corrupting the lands. During the questline, Malfurion is captured, and Tyrande and the player character need to rescue him. Malfurion...
Honestly, it was in Legion where I realized how powerful Malfurion is. He was actually a badass. When we rescued him and shit, you realize he's actually really strong. I felt like Xavius was kind of afraid of him.
Lore-rich character, whose personality has been expanded upon over 21 years in books, comics, and in-game cutscenes. But for the average fan of World of Warcraft, they know him as the guy with the most hilariously pathetic voice lines.
Tyrande.
Where he's all like,
Tyrande, I need you. You cannot keep me from her. Where are you, Tyrande? No!
And here's the funny thing. It's actually Xavius impersonating Malfurion in these voice lines.
Yes.
But everyone kind of forgot about that detail, or it was just poorly translated. Also during the questline, Ysera dies, a very close ally to the Night Elves, and oh yeah, also during Legion, the Nightborn, a Highborn adjacent faction of Elves, wanted to ally with the Alliance, but Tyrande was apprehensive because they reminded her too much of the Highborn with their
this is when Tyrande starts to go bitch mode. She starts to go bitch mode in Legion.
Power and addiction to magic. So they join the Horde instead. And then, in the Battle for Azeroth expansion...
Yeah, something happens, yeah.
In BFA, the burning of Teldrassil is easily the most controversial event in Warcraft history. It was a radical change made to the game's story and world, something that is really rare in the MMO medium. And
I'm still convinced that part of the reason they did this was because if you ever flew by that world tree, man, that thing was hideous. I mean, it made no logical sense. Like, it was just a big cube, a big block of pixels sitting out there in the ocean, and it was ridiculous. And I think they didn't know how they were going to remake it or what they were going to do with it, so like, just burn it. Just burn it. Fuck it. We'll figure it out later.
Night Elves suffered immensely. Easily their biggest loss since the sundering of the world, but with great loss meant that we are able to get the brutal side of the Night Elves again, something that had been missing for the entirety of WoW since then. And visually,
this was badass.
It was awesome.
This was badass. The brutality. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If this didn't make you want to make a druid, I don't know what would. This was such a badass cutscene. Look at, holy shit.
Tyrande!
Oh, come on.
I need you.
It's such a great
Tyrande partakes in an
cutscene.
ancient ritual to become a Night Warrior, empowering herself with the vengeance of Elune. This is so cool, but ultimately feels hollow when she struggles to fight Nathanos, a guy with a bow. I feel like it would make more sense if she used her
Yeah, she
powers
should
to
have
turn
just
him into
one-shot
literal
him.
ash, because, you know, empowered by one of the strongest goddesses in the universe and all
Yeah,
that.
there shouldn't even
and
been a
again,
fight.
the retaliation of the Night Elves feels hollow because the Alliance wins the battle to reclaim Darkshore, but it happens off screen.
The Tyrande Warglaive transmog, you can get that Tyrande looking armor. Well, it's actually the Warden armor. Remember, it's like the 12-month trading post award or whatever.
The zone is a
Kind
wasteland.
of looks like it.
And they
But I
push
don't know about
them
her
all the
warglaives.
way to the crossroads in the Barrens, which is explained in mission table quest text, which can't possibly be more underwhelming. And hey, look, oh my god, Ajara is back. Her model is dope, her voice actress is amazing, the zone
good.
she's in is beautiful, and and she's gone.
Jailer greater than some
Well,
moon god? What?
Waited 15 years for that one. The Shadowlands expansion comes out, and if the Night Elves didn't have it hard enough,
What expansion? I don't
all of those
recognize
elves
that
that were murdered in the burning of Teldrassil are being funneled directly into hell to be tortured for all eternity,
That's
which
right.
is so dark and depressing it's almost comical. Tyrande manages to fight Nathanos alone
Totally
and
agree
kills
with
him this
that.
time,
Time walking
and then
could be used for a
charges
lot of
into
this
the depths
content.
of hell, killing everything in her path to save the souls of her people. Later in the expansion, she finds Sylvanas, the one responsible for the suffering of the Night Elves, and they have a 1v1 fight, which, again, visually, so dope.
badass,
But it ends with Tyrande's powers waning and Sylvanas just getting away, which, again, makes the badassness feel pretty hollow. Hell,
Yeah.
even if she left a small little wound on Sylvanas, it would make this scene 1,000 times better. And ultimately, the storyline ends with Tyrande realizing she must focus on the renewal of her people instead of vengeance, which is... But there's a silver lining to this. In order for Tyrande to not be the Night Warrior anymore, she basically has to go through this exorcism. And we get the coolest voice acting that we've gotten in WoW for years.
Yeah. Damn, could you imagine the actor doing this?
Now, even after she chooses renewal and is normal Tyrande again,
She's still angry.
she still is very mad at Sylvanas.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'd much prefer in the world of Warcraft having Tyrande kick Sylvanas down to the pits of hell and then focusing on renewal of her people, but that's just me. And look, there's a lot of
I
things about
agree.
Shadowlands I can continue to talk about and how disappointing it was for the continuation of Warcraft's story, but really, I don't want this video to devolve into every single other lore video about
Yeah.
Shadowlands that
Bitch about
ultimately
Shadowlands.
becomes Shadowlands is bad. Okay, but not everything is
Essentially.
horrible for the Night Elves. Tyrande was given a new world seed imbued with the souls of dead Kaldorei.
Thanks, Blizzard. Yeah.
Which most likely means we're getting a new world tree at some point, but it's currently in the Emerald Dream for safekeeping. And you know, seeing the amazing scale
Yeah, that's what Tyrande wants us to think. I think it's inside of her. I think that's why she hasn't planted it yet. We're gonna get. We've seen a lot of Emerald Dream leaks coming out. Well, not leaks, but like PTR upload, weird Emerald Dream references. So we're gonna get that planting soon, whether it's the end of Dragonflight patch or the beginning of the next expansion.
of Dragonflight zones, it should be pretty awesome compared to Teldrassil, which in
Birthing
game
content.
was literally just a stump, surrounded by fog.
This is
And
what
you
I'm
know
talking
how-
about. This is what I'm talking about. That is what he got a good image of it right here. This is what Darnassus looked like, and they surrounded it with fog because this thing was hideous. Oh my god, it was ugly. And I think they didn't know what to do with it. They're just like, burn it, man. We can't fix this.
Surrounded by
What are we gonna
fog.
do with this?
And you know how I just said the seed is
Minecraft
safe?
moment?
Well, that's a goddamn lie, and the suffering of the Night Elves isn't done yet. Later on in Dragonflight, bad guys called the Primalists invade the Emerald Dream and seal it off from being accessed from Azeroth. But it can be accessed from the Shadowlands.
Interesting.
And the only one that can do that is Ysera, the former Green Dragonflight aspect that died in Legion. In order for her to leave the realm of death of the Shadowlands called Ardenweald, she needs someone to take her place, which Malfurion agrees to do. Sound convoluted? Yeah,
So
I know. So basically,
Shadowlands.
Malfurion is in timeout in the realm of death while Ysera does stuff, but eventually they'll swap places again. And in response, Tyrande says what every Night Elf fan has been thinking for the majority of Warcraft's story.
I am so tired, Malfurion.
good ending. Yeah. Oh man, I love these videos. So good. All right, if you guys are ready, I'm ready. Let's get into the game. Let's queue up. Time to do a heroic raid. Good old Platinum WoW videos. Doesn't get better. So what did we learn about the Night Elves? Well, they've done some fuckery. They've kind of been screwed over lately in lore. They've been on the back burner. We'll see if they return to their state of. I like the angry Night Elves. That lore is the best lore for Night Elves. The angry, badass Night Elves.